Hey bitch, what's up bitch? Suck my dick bitch.
Hi sisters!
Ladies and genitals, welcome back to my daily motion channel. Please ignore my nails. Before every video I paint my nails because I hate chip nails on camera, but I'm in such a negative mood today. I don't want to do that. I didn't even want to film today, but I'm forcing myself to film because it's time to grind.
Period.
I don't even want to grind because I'm burnt out from life. Today, we're talking about psychology, tips, and tricks which you can use in your everyday life because I am a psychology student and I use these facts. And I'd also like to say, I see a lot of videos on TikTok and they talk about psychology facts and they're like,
If you were dreaming of this person, they're thinking about you.
I would like to see it.
babes, where is the literal study for that? You know, you gotta be like a critical thinker, come on. It's fake. And I feel like when you're a psychology student, you can really identify which ones are real and which ones are not. I think someone recently told me to review the like triangle trick where you like look up and down or whatever, and apparently it's meant to make someone fall in love with you. Babes, I don't believe that. There's so many components to falling in love. At most, it's gonna make someone feel uncomfortable. And if they know that trick, like babes, I know that trick. If someone did that to me, I'd be like, damn, you watch TikTok, huh? You trying to make me fall in love with you now, huh? I'm cringing now. So, yeah, voila. Let's start. Real psychology facts and tricks by a real psychology student. So these tricks, they're gonna help you in your everyday life. Some of them I'm sure you know already. Others, you probably don't know. So listen up. Number one, false attribution of arousal. This is a very popular one. If you want someone to like you when you're going on a date, or even just, you know, hanging out with friends, go do something that spikes your adrenaline because you're actually getting aroused to the situation, but your brain will trick you into thinking it's because of that person. So it actually creates some type of bond. I would actually not do this with a first date because what happens afterwards? You can't have adrenaline every day, come on.
Period.
Whatever. Number two, I'm putting this at the front of the list because I think it's very important, but there's something called the bystander effect, very popular of course, and if you don't know what it is, it's basically, let's put it into an example. A little kid falls over in the street and it's crying and not getting up. Let's say there's like 100 people walking by, no one's stopping. Why is no one stopping? Because they're actually thinking, oh, someone else is gonna do it. But if there was just one person there or two people, there is a way higher chance that that person is gonna go and help the kid. So if you want to reduce the bystander effect, what you do is you actually point out people. You can be like,
Hey, you in the green shirt, do this.
and at the same time, if you know about the bystander effect, it actually reduces the chances of you participating in it. So you're more likely to go and help them if you're educated about it. And that's why I'm putting it there at the very beginning, because if there's a little kid on the road, bro, you better go and help her or him. Come on, be a good human. Oh my God. Guys, I kid you not, I just deleted my 21 list of psychology facts.
Hello darkness, my old friend.
BRB.
Thanks to my Lord and Savior, me, I actually had a copy on my laptop and everything is a-okay. I'm lying.
Number three, body language is really important. Why? Not only for how other people are going to perceive you, but for yourself. It's going to dictate your emotions. Studies have shown that people who get Botox, especially in the forehead or around their eyes where they can't, you know, show emotion, express, they actually are much sadder than people who can smile. At the same time, if you want to appear more confident, have good posture. You will appear more confident and you will actually feel more confident. So body language is very important. Number four, I talked about this on my second channel on how to get people to like you, but say their name and remember their name. Always say their name, always remember their name. Your name is the most beautiful thing to yourself. Additionally, if you want someone to like you, mirror their body language. Not only will it make them feel comfortable, but they will like you more. And I did get a comment saying,
Oh, what a shitty society we live in where we need to make people like us and we care about how people like us. And
you know what? I don't agree with that comment at all, because in some situations you do need people to like you. How are you going to go into a job interview and have that attitude where,
I don't care if the manager likes me or not.
babes, are you going to get hired? No. In some situations, we need people to like us. Human beings also want to be liked because we want to have friends. We don't want to feel isolated. So yeah, being liked can be important. It's just how much importance you place on it. If you're placing excessive importance on being liked, then yeah, you should change your mindset a bit. But being liked is not a bad thing because humans, we naturally crave that. And in situations, very particular ones, you do need to be liked. Get off your high horse, babes. Anyways.
Rant over.
When in doubt, stay silent. If you're arguing with someone, if you ask someone a question, they don't answer the way you like, they don't give you the information you want, hush hush, don't say a thing, they will keep talking. This is a hella popular one. I almost didn't put it in here because I thought it was too common, but some of you may not know it. Your brain thinks you're calm when you're eating, so if you feel anxious, chew a piece of gum. You'll feel a little less anxious. Here is one that's actually not commonly known. I learned it in my degree, in my course a few years ago, and many people fall trap to this. Don't overshare when you first meet someone. A lot of people overshare because they somehow think it's bonding you to them, because if you're oversharing, well, they obviously are gonna like you more because they know this deep part of me and I feel more connected to you now. You may feel more connected to that person because you're oversharing, but they're not gonna feel more connected to you when they first meet you. In fact, it actually does the opposite. It pushes people away from you. They actually get a little afraid of you subconsciously because they're like, oh, this person's like unloading all of this heavy stuff onto me. So don't overshare when you first meet someone. It's not going to bond you to them more unless both people, I feel like, are traumatized in the same thing and you're like bonding over a certain experience that happened to you. But you know, it's a very rare situation. If it's not like that, don't overshare. Don't always try to be perfect. People are going to like you more if you look humane, if you show that you're human, that you make mistakes, okay? People like people who make mistakes. If you make too many mistakes though, you look like a class and then people won't like you. So unfortunately, you need to make the perfect amount of mistakes, just not too many. Asking favors from people will make them like you more. It's a subconscious thing. And I'm not talking big favors like, hey Donald Trump's dad, can you please loan me a small loan of $1 million? No, it's like, hey Jordan, can you please pass the salt across the table? Hey Jim, do you have a pencil I can use? It's like little things like that. This is very dangerous. Manipulators use this one, but if you want to manipulate someone, oh, my laptop's falling off my bed. If you want to manipulate someone, the best way to do it is to plant a seed in their mind and make them think that they came up with the idea themselves. And you know, this is different for every situation, but the way to do that is to kind of just drop like little hints of information. Not enough that you're telling them what to do or telling them what to think, but that it's enough for them to piece it together themselves and then they will think they thought it.
Hey bitch, what's up bitch? Suck my dick bitch.
If you've let someone down or if you are late, don't directly apologize for it. I mean, you know, in some situations you should be apologizing just to be a good human. But if you don't want them to think like less of you or get annoyed, you should try to stroke their ego a little bit. So you should be saying like, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your understanding, as opposed to, I'm so sorry that like, I didn't reply to you for so long, or I'm so sorry I did this to you. Just like, thank you for being so empathetic about my situation. And they're like, yeah, I'm like a hella empathetic person. So the primacy and recency effect is basically where we remember things that are first or last. This can be applied to learning new information. We're going to remember the things at the top of the list and things at the bottom of the list. And in the middle, we'll forget. It can also be applied to someone's day. We remember what we did first thing in the morning, last thing at night, but we don't really recall much during the day. So some people recommend that if you want to schedule a date and be memorable, then do it at the end of the day or at the front of the day in the morning. Giving people options. Here's the thing, boys, you know, you ask a girlfriend, where do you want to eat? What does she say? I don't know. It's not that simple. It's not that simple. I don't know.
What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
Don't do that. You know what you do? You give her options. Give her a few options. Don't give her a whole list of 10, because then that's going to be an information overload and a paradox of choice. Paradox of choice, you have too many options. You do not know what to do then.
Here's a tip, boys. If you want to eat at a particular restaurant, make the other options really bad and then only put one good option in there. At the same time, if you want someone to do something for you and you give them two options, the first option, it can be something like really, really difficult, something they are obviously going to say no to. And then the second option, it's going to be very simple, something they can definitely do. And because there's such a big contrast between the two options, they're way more likely to be like, okay, I'll do it for you.
Here's something interesting. If we have a plan B, plan A is dramatically more likely to not succeed because we feel comfortable, and then we'll work less hard at achieving plan A. And this is actually proven by experimenters at the University of Pennsylvania. Researchers found that when volunteers thought about a backup plan before starting a task, they did worse than those who hadn't thought about the backup plan. It takes one negative thought to counteract 5 positive thoughts. What it's based on essentially is that we have a negativity bias in our brain. So we remember bad things more than we remember the good things. We unintentionally will seek out information that confirms what we're thinking. This is why so many people will ask for advice, and when you give them advice, they're like, nah, I don't agree with that. It's because we all have a confirmation bias, which means we're looking for information which is going to confirm whatever we're thinking. So take that into account whenever you're asking someone for advice, or even when you're giving advice to people. For people going through a breakup, you need to treat a breakup like an addiction, because it is an addiction. It's entirely psychological. It's a drug withdrawal. It's the same mechanism. When you're with a person, you're addicted to them, you're releasing dopamine, oxytocin. When you're taking a drug, you're also releasing that dopamine. So when you break up, you no longer have that person, right? You're going through a literal withdrawal, and that's why you're crying, you're throwing up, you can't eat, you can't sleep. It's a whole drug withdrawal, and that's why you need to treat it like a drug addiction. You can't be in contact with them. You need to cut off all fucking communication. You don't want to look at your photos. They need to be out of your life. You need to break that drug addiction. And you know what? It's hard, but it does get easier over time. People will rise to high expectations, and they will not rise to low expectations. In fact, they might fall for it. So if you want someone to perform well, you give them expectations. So there was a 1960s study in which researchers told teachers that certain students chosen at random had a high potential to have a high IQ or perform better in tests, and those students believed to be high achievers actually did better. Here's something else I learned that's really interesting. I couldn't find this on the internet because I don't remember the name of it, but basically children, when they're praised on their performance of a test, the children who were praised for studying well performed better in life because they attributed their success to their performance. So when they were met with a poor performance later on, they didn't self-attribute it to their lack of self-worth or just how they were as a person. Instead, they were like, oh, I could do better next time. Whilst the kids who were praised on natural ability, when they performed badly next time, they were self-loathing. They were blaming it on themselves instead of saying, I can study better next time. So this can really impact you in your adulthood. So if you find yourself blaming yourself for things going wrong when really you could have just studied harder, or you could have changed the situation, you might want to examine your beliefs there. And also for my parents, praise your kids on their hard work and their diligence as opposed to their natural ability. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget, think critically. When you hear something on TikTok or the internet that doesn't sound very true, don't believe it immediately. You gotta actually think, is there a study for this? And even if there's a study for something, did you know that it doesn't actually mean anything? It needs to be repeated. The study needs to be repeated to see if it's valid, if it's reliable, if the results are accurate. So it actually doesn't mean anything. So you can't ever just reference one study and be like, this one study proved that this happened. Well, how many other studies are there?
Period.
Also, if someone's dreaming about you, babes, it doesn't mean that they have a crush on you or they're thinking about you. I mean, if we're talking spirituality wise, if you're into that, then we would say that there is one consciousness. So yeah, someone else can think about us, and that might mean they're going to appear in our dreams. But you know what, that's an entirely other video, and I'm a spiritual person, but I'm also a psychology student, which means I think critically, and you know what, it kind of collides. But at the end of the day, Stan Joe Dispenza. Stan Joe Dispenza. On punto. Okay guys, ich liebe dich. Tschüss.
Roman, vacación.
bruja. Puta. Puta, mi hada madrina dijo que sí. Este de aquí me hizo llorar. Este otro me dice marica. Este otro de mí piensa mal. Esto es lo que hago cuando me chingan. Voy a encerrarlos bajo la tierra. Nadie va a comer y de hambre morirán. Madre, quiero saber en verdad quién soy yo.